Big time title fight coming up this weekend. Co-main event of UFC 275. We have Valentina Shevchenko looking to defend the belt once more, taking on Brazil's Taila Santos. And if you told me about 3 years ago Taila Santos is going to challenge for a UFC title, I would have called you a liar and a dirty, dirty one at that. But Taila Santos has proven me wrong, and she has gone on like a wrecking ball since she lost to Mauro Romero Barella by split decision. I mean, she took on Molly McCann. I told Fight Night Picks fans, lock of the night. I used that L word. I said, lock of the night. Molly McCann against Taila Santos. She can put it in the bank. And guess what happened? Taila Santos ran through Molly McCann like she was running
hot knife through butter.
It was so easy. Then she took on Jillian Robertson and beat her at her own game. Then she took on Roxanne Modafferi and knocked her down and beat her. Then she took on Joanne Wood and went, hey, I'm going to get close to you and knock you down twice. Close to the clinch. I'm going to take you down. I'm going to do whatever I want. And for Taila Santos, that win over Joanne Wood, who's become a poster of title shots, was the win that she needed to get that opportunity. Santos right now is ranked 4th in this division. But Matt, I talked about this when we opened the show. If you're not watching the full card offering, you should. But if you are, I said Taila Santos is beating these women at their own game. When she beat Jillian Robertson, she took her down. She controlled her. She did everything she needed to. She beat Joanne Wood with the striking, knocked her down, got in close. Like, Taila Santos is beating these women in ways that, well, just contenders and prospects don't. And I really like that out of somebody. And she's getting the respect out of the odds makers too, which might sound silly because she's more than a plus 400 underdog. But hear me out. Taila Santos is one of these better contenders that we've seen in a long time.
And nowadays, it's almost like Mike Tyson when he was in his prime. Like you said, being a plus 450 underdog is kind of showing Taila Santos quite a bit of respect because the majority of Valentina's opponents are in the, plus 700, 800 type categories. We're talking about all-time upsets if she is able to lose. But against Taila Santos, there are a few areas where Santos can have success in this fight. And the weird thing about Valentina is that, again, not to give my prediction away too early, Valentina's probably going to win this fight, if we're all being very honest. She is pound for pound probably the number one fighter in the world when it comes to her weight class because she is that much better than everyone she's been in there with for such a long time. But eventually, that's a huge negative. When you're fighting people who are on your level or a little bit better than you and they're really pushing you and every day you're trying to get a little bit better, a little bit better, and a little bit better, you are going to make improvements over time. It's kind of like Jake Paul's boxing career. A lot of people want to hate on him because, he's just like an internet star. But, just think about it. He has a lot of money. He has a lot of spare time probably. And he does box. He does train. And if you train boxing every day, you do that for a couple of years, you're going to get better at it. But with Valentina, she's been so much better than all of her opponents for so long now. Is she really getting better every single time we see her in the cage? Or is she just the same fighter time after time after time who's just been able to rest on her laurels because she is so much better than her opponents? I do think Santos is the type of fighter who's going to make us reevaluate Shevchenko moving forward because Santos could have success physically. She's very big for this weight class. I don't think Shevchenko is going to be able to just bully her around in the clinch like she has been able to past opponents because Jessica Andrade on the inside would have a little bit of success, but Valentina, almost like a really good boxer, would either be all the way out so you can't hit me or all the way inside to where you can't get extension on your punches. And Valentina is very physically strong in those clinches. It is reminiscent. Remember when she beat Holly Holm? Yeah, she beat Holly Holm. It was a while ago, but Valentina beat the brakes off Holly Holm at 135, and she did that a lot with her body-to-body takedowns, and that tells me how strong Valentina has to be to take down basically a featherweight at bantamweight when Valentina herself belongs to the 125-pound division. It's just for Taila Santos, I think she can have some success in the striking, and we haven't said that in a long time when a fighter's fighting Valentina.
Valentina Shevchenko, 34 years old. You look at the time when Valentina debuted in Pro MMA, it was about the same time that 42-year-old Glover Teixeira debuted in Pro MMA. That's how wild it is. Shevchenko's kickboxing career is highly noted, and it should be. And her unorthodox methods of training all over the world at small gyms are on full display coming up for this fight because she's got a camp with, Josiane Nunes, Antonina, and Pavel. And
does Valentina have the best background pictures for her camps of all time? It's always like she's in this, scenic town in Maine. She'll always have a mountain range in the background.
She trained in Brunswick, Maine at a hole-in-the-wall gym for a fight against Joanna in Toronto.
It's interesting stuff.
But she trained in Florida for this fight, and I know, I might have it as Evolve MMA. I threw it up there. One Championship's probably all over that. They love it when there's a fighter that's actually out of Canada, but they can somehow build them out of Singapore. They can build them out of Southeast Asia. But for Valentina, she's at Evolve, rounding out the last piece of her game in Singapore. But again, another fighter that's on this card, Joselyne Edwards, in that training camp. But again, it's weird coming into this fight, and I know a lot of people are going to say it. Is this the fight, just like Amanda Nunes, Juliana Pena, where somebody upsets the apple cart and gets that win? The questions surrounding Valentina, and I watched her on the MMA Hour with Ariel, it was kind of like, well, you've kind of done everything. Like, you're starting to get later into your career. You thinking about a family? Well, kind of, but not really. Like, I still have a little bit more to fight and so on and so forth. It's just kind of getting a little murky and a little weird because Valentina's beaten so many people. And it's like, do you have a third fight against Amanda Nunes? Well, even Amanda Nunes is at a weird spot at 135. She's not really the champ, and she's over watching Bobby Maximus get beat on The Ultimate Fighter, like in the worst season that you've never heard of because nobody's paying attention to that show. But when I do look at this fight, Matt, Taila Santos, when she's walking fighters down, has a ton of success. When she's working her takedowns, has a ton of success. The only fight that I can go back to in the UFC and go, well, geez, Taila Santos didn't really have a ton of success. This is the Maro Barella fight years ago. So I have a hard time looking at this fight going, Shevchenko's a minus 600 favorite. Better kicker, in and out. Like, there's definitely things that Shevchenko's great at compared to Santos, but this is a weird crossroads fight.
This thing with Santos, though, and I think this is going to be the whole story of the fight. Santos is very good. She has slow feet, though, and I do think that's going to tell the whole story of this fight. She's someone who will plot forward, and she doesn't bounce on her feet very much, and I really do think footwork is one of the most important things you have to focus on when you're fighting someone like Valentina Shevchenko. There is not a stat for bounces per minute in MMA, but Valentina Shevchenko has some of the fastest feet in MMA, just regardless of organization. She's very quick on the in and out, and that's why someone like Caitlin Chukagian could have a little bit of success on the feet against her, because they're both footwork-based fighters. I really do expect Taila Santos to enter on a straight line in a lot of instances throughout this fight, and I do think Shevchenko can make her pay for that predictable attack. If Santos did have faster feet, if she could move from left to right a little bit quicker, maybe she could switch up her attack enough to surprise Valentina, maybe catch her with a big shot early, but I do think Santos, for as good and as well-rounded as she is slightly predictable, and she does lack some of the intangibles that some of the upper echelon fighters do have, and that's why I still like Valentina. But again, at 34 years of age, being as accomplished as she is, I've been really big into Roy Jones Jr. lately, and for instance, he was a middleweight light heavyweight who passed cruiserweight, went up to heavyweight, just because he kind of ran out of things to do in his own division. Like, at a certain point for Valentina, you would expect her to almost be calling for the Pena fight. Like, that's the type of stuff that gets you into... She's a Hall of Famer already, but you get the idea. Like, legends are told about fighters who go out of their weight classes, try something that's never been tried before. And if Shevchenko could become the first flyweight, bantamweight champ of all time, like, that's a historic accomplishment that we talk about forever. So, at some point, I do expect Shevchenko to test herself more than just the 125-pound division, but I still like her in this fight.
Legends are made of Shevchenko dancing on the graves of, her opponents, and also Reddit memes are as well. You look at the odds for this one, Shevchenko open to minus 600, minus 686 over on best fight odds right now. Santos open plus 400, plus 468. I like the value on Santos. We have a look at the total vote on Tapology. Surprise to us, it is to you. I'm going to say over under 85% to Shevchenko. Over 94%, 972 total votes, 38% by knockout, 48% by decision for the 6% with Santos, 60% by decision, 22% by knockout. Taila Santos, former Aspera FC champion, all 3-round fights. So this one's a 5-rounder, so that's going to be interesting because her style doesn't lend credence to a 5-round fight. Shevchenko's does. I have Shevchenko ever so slightly in this fight, and I've never said that in Shevchenko's entire career. I've always gone with Shevchenko. I've been like head over heels with Shevchenko in her UFC tenure. I think Santos has a very real shot at beating Shevchenko this weekend with her wrestling, with her striking, with her power in the clinch. I will have Shevchenko. Again, I agree with you with the movement on the feet, but like it's ever so slightly.
Not ever so slightly on my... Here's, like, Santos... If the level of entry to beat Valentina Shevchenko was look good against Joanne Wood, a lot more people would have competitive fights against Valentina Shevchenko. Taila Santos is coming up beating Roxanne Modafferi at the end of her career, and Joanne Wood at the end of her career. I really don't think Taila Santos has fought anybody who even offers a slightly similar look to Valentina Shevchenko, whereas Shevchenko's fought the likes of Joanna and Jacek, even though she's a little bit smaller. Jessica Andrade, Caitlin Chukagian, people who have been number one contenders, not for just one fight, for years in their respective divisions. So I do like Shevchenko quite a bit in this fight.
Both of us going with Kyrgyzstan's own Valentina Shevchenko to get the win. Make your own approximations on this fight as you will. Let us know down below in the comments section who you have. If a minus 680 fighter is your flavor, it's definitely not ours, but let us know. And we have a big time main event coming up at light heavyweight between Yuri Prochazka, who's a favorite, challenging against the 42-year-old champ Glover Teixeira, who's reached the pinnacle of his division. I love it. I can't wait for it. Keep it locked in with Fight Night Picks. We always say, let's get into it.